Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to a new review. Today I have the latest smartphone from Umi called the Umi Plus. So we all know that Umi introduced the Umi Max maybe a month ago, and yes, we already have a brand new device from them. This time around the phone it's a bit more expensive, so it costs around $200, $220 depending where you buy it from. But yes, it is a bit more refined compared to the Umi Max. So we have the exact same processor inside, the Helio P10, which is an octa core processor. We have 4 gigs of RAM this time around. So a phone that's under $250 with 4 gigs of RAM, that's something unheard of, I don't know, about 2 years ago. So aside from that, we have 32 gigs of internal storage running Android 6, and inside this phone we have a 4000 mAh battery. And everybody's probably wondering how good is the battery. So I was able to get close to 24 hours of usage on this phone, and out of that about 6 hours and a half of screen on time. You can probably get more screen on time. I use the phone at maximum brightness, but yes, the battery life, it's absolutely amazing onto this phone, and it is in fact much better than the battery life that I get on my Samsung Galaxy Note 7. There is also a fingerprint scanner on the Umi Plus, but this time around the fingerprint scanner is sitting onto the front of the device and not on the back. So the home button, it's the fingerprint scanner. All you have to do is actually touch the fingerprint scanner, so the home button, you don't have to push it all the way in, and the device unlocks. It is accurate maybe 9 out of 10 times. There is the odd time when it's not gonna register, but most of the time it works well. It's not the absolute fastest out there, and yes, the fingerprint scanner on my Note 7, it's much faster than this. But overall the fingerprint scanner seems to work very good. Compared to the Umi Max, this phone feels much nicer in your hand. So it is slimmer, it is lighter, it does feel a lot more refined. So the entire phone is made out of metal and glass. So the back it's made out of metal, it looks very nice. Onto the back there we have a new camera, it's a 13 megapixel camera. Underneath that we have a dual flash. The dual flash, it's very bright, I have to be honest. And underneath that we have the Umi logo. If you look on top and at the bottom of the device, you're gonna see the antennas and a secondary microphone. Overall the phone looks a lot like a $500–600 phone, so it doesn't look like a phone that's only $200. The Umi Plus has buttons on both sides, so onto the right hand side and the left hand side. So on the right hand side we find the power button and the volume keys, and these buttons are also made out of metal just like the entire phone, and they do feel very nice to touch. Onto the other side we have a dedicated button, so you can change this button and have different functions. For example, you can have a camera opening whenever you press that button, you can have the browser opening or anything like that. And next to that button we have the SIM card tray. Now if you remove the SIM card tray, you're gonna find the 2 slots in there, so you can either have 2 SIM cards or a SIM card and an SD card. And since I'm talking about the SD cards, yes, this phone has Android 6 and you can insert an SD card, and that SD card can become internal memory, which is really good because you're not gonna run out of space. So even though you have 32 gigs of internal memory, you just add an SD card and all of a sudden you can have 128 gigs of internal memory, or depending on the memory card that you put in. So very great feature. On top of the device we are going to find the 3.5mm audio jack, and I did plug in some headphones to listen to some music, and it sounds just like the sound that I get from my Galaxy Note 7. So I couldn't really tell the difference if I'm listening to music from this phone or my Note 7, so it sounds the same. So that's a good thing, I guess. Now at the bottom of the device we have what looks like 2 speakers. However, only one of them is a speaker, and that's the one to the right. But the interesting thing is that even if you cover that speaker, the one to the right, which is the actual speaker, the sound still comes through onto the other one. So it's a very cool thing. Now the charging port. So we have a USB-C, but there is something strange about this USB-C, and you're gonna wonder what. So I tried charging this phone with the cable that came with my Note 7 that also has a USB-C, and the cable was coming out all the time. I was like, why? So then I looked at the cable that comes with the Umi Plus and the cable that comes with my Note 7. So the USB-C cable that we get for this phone, it's actually longer than regular USB-C cables, which I'm not sure why, because I was supposed to be able to use any USB-C with this phone. So keep that in mind, not all the USB-C cables will fit. You'll need one that's slightly larger, because otherwise it just comes off very easily. We also have fast charging. I mean, when I say fast charging, it's not going to be as fast as my Note 7, but you can get the whole phone charged in about an hour and 45 minutes, I would say. So pretty decent, in my opinion, considering the battery life lasts a long time. Now the speakers, because I was talking about the speakers earlier, they do get very loud, but at maximum volume they sound a bit distorted. And this is a sample so you can have an idea how the speakers sound. Moving on the front of the device, one of the most important parts of any phone. So this time around we have a 5.5-inch LTPS display. This display is slightly better than an IPS display. So it does get very bright. I mean, it's one of the best Chinese phones displays that I've seen. I did try to scratch the screen on a couple of occasions with a screwdriver, but it doesn't want to get scratched. So it does have some type of Gorilla Glass on top of it. The viewing angles are really good. I mean, you can see the phone no matter how you look at it. And even if you go outside in broad daylight, you're going to be able to see the screen. I mean, it's not as good as my Note 7 because that's the phone that I use every day. But it is one of the best displays on any Chinese phones that I've seen. So yes, I'm very happy with the display onto this phone. You can touch the screen in 5 places in the same time, and the sensitivity, I would say that it is good, not the absolute best, and yes, I wish it would be a bit more sensitive, but overall the screen, it's a very nice screen, and it's an improvement versus the UMI Max. And also on the front of the device there is a notification light. The notification light is very small, but it changes colors. You can set whatever colors you prefer, and the notification light is sitting on the left hand side corner of the device. Aside from that, we have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Now that front-facing camera, is it any good? So in broad daylight it's okay, and I'm showing you a sample right now, so not the absolute best. If you try to take selfies at nighttime, unfortunately the pictures don't look very good, and you can see that for yourself. But this is an issue with all the Chinese phones that cost under around like $500. So the front-facing camera will be okay for selfies and stuff like that, but more than that, it's not gonna be the best. And moving at the bottom of the device, so you can have on-screen buttons if that's what you prefer, and you can change the way they look, the way they feel. So it's very easy to do that. You just go into settings and you can change them. But if you don't like the on-screen buttons like me, you can just use the buttons at the bottom of the device. So even though you cannot see them, there is a button to the right hand side of the home button and one to the left. Now, the interesting thing about the home button, if you just press it, just touch it slightly, it acts as a back button. If you press it all the way, it acts as a home button. But we also have a return button onto the right hand side of that home button. So I'm not sure if that's a useful feature. Also, if you want to go into multitasking mode, you actually have to press the home button twice. So that is a bit confusing because you're always gonna exit whatever app you have when you press that button to go into multitasking mode. So a bit strange. I wish they would have had the multitasking button where it should be, which is the left hand side of the home button. The UMI Plus is using Android 6, and on top of that we have UMI's skin. Now I'm very happy to say that it looks a lot like stock Android. Like if you've had a Nexus phone before, this is exactly how this one feels like. We don't have any added features, useless features that nobody uses. We don't have added apps, so it comes pre-installed a few apps, flashlight, the radio app, the Play Store. But since we have the Play Store, you can get basically anything, and you don't really need any of those garbage apps to slow down the phone. So yes, I'm very happy to see that the UI works really good. No lag anywhere, and you can swipe in between screens, change between apps, and everything is done very quickly. I did play some games, and you can check that video. You're gonna find it in the top right corner or the video's description. Now the Antutu benchmark, because everybody wants to know the Antutu benchmark for this device. So we get a score of about 45,000. It's a decent score, I guess. I mean, I'm not gonna compare this with my Note 7 that gets like 150,000 or so, but for 45,000, as much as we get on the Antutu benchmark score, I think it works really good. So you're probably gonna see those games that I played with it, they work absolutely amazing. So no issues with any app that I've seen. Again, on the Geekbench benchmark, we also get an appropriate score for this processor. So overall, I'm very happy to see the scores that we got onto this device. The settings app onto the phone also looks like stock Android. So again, we don't have that many options. We have the option there to change that button onto the left hand side of the phone, and we have the option to change the on-screen buttons, but overall we don't have that many options in the settings there, and it looks very nice and clean. Now the storage, because I do have an SD card inside this, but if I wouldn't have an SD card inside, we would have about 25 gigs free out of the 32 that come with the phone. And I did do a speed test onto the memory and the RAM, but the speeds that I got, I don't know, they don't seem real for some reason. So I'm not sure if there is something to do with the app or with the phone, but yeah, the speeds that I got there don't seem that real. Another important feature for any phone is the GPS, and I did try the GPS on the UMI Plus. I do have my Note 7 in the tester. I just wanted to see how fast my Note 7 connects versus this. And yes, this is a bit slow. If you're using Google Maps, it gets a bit weird. I mean, you turn around, the phone doesn't know what to do. 3 seconds later, the phone turns around. So yeah, the GPS takes a while to actually connect depending where you are. The GPS signal gets lost every now and then. So overall, not the best experience with the GPS. I think that the GPS on the UMI Max was a bit better than what we find in the UMI Plus. So it is unfortunate, but that's a reality for this device. Hopefully a future software update will be able to fix that. As for the sensors that we find in this device, this looks a lot like a flagship device, so like an expensive Samsung iPhone, because we have a whole bunch of sensors and all of them seem to work fairly good. I mean, I didn't really find any issues with any of them. So yeah, we do have a lot of sensors in the UMI Plus. I just wish that GPS would have been a bit better, and I would have been really happy with this device. So now the 3G and the 4G connectivity, because this device supports 4G connectivity, and since I'm talking about connectivity, it supports dual band Wi-Fi, so it can connect to either the 2.4 or the 5 GHz Wi-Fi networks. Unfortunately, I was not able to connect to the 4G networks no matter what I did, and here in Canada it should be able to connect to that 2600 LTE band, but no, I was not able to connect to 4G in Canada. So the speeds on 3G are low, which is very normal. The speeds on Wi-Fi are appropriate for my Wi-Fi connection, I guess. So yeah, that is the downside. I was not able to connect to 4G. Aside from that, I did notice that the phone disconnects from data every now and then randomly. So you'd be driving around and the music would stop. I'm like, why? Because the Bluetooth connectivity works fine. And then I look at the phone and there is no data for some reason. 20 seconds later, the data just comes back onto the phone. So again, I'm hoping that the future software update will be able to fix that because the bands in Canada actually match all the bands that this device has. So I don't have an explanation why the data gets disconnected every now and then. And I had quite a few apps installed onto the phone. I used Chrome, I used the Play Store, I used pretty much all the apps that I use on a daily basis, and all of them seem to do very good. Even multitasking, so switching in between apps works really good, and we do have 4 gigs of RAM, and the phone doesn't seem to kill the apps in the background either, and that's a very good thing. On the YouTube app, the maximum resolution that we are going to get is the resolution of the phone, so 1080p videos do go very smooth, so I'm very happy with the YouTube app. And as I said before, the speakers the speaker at the bottom gets rather loud, but not if you have it at maximum volume. So if you keep it at maximum volume, it's not going to sound the best. But yeah, the experience for YouTube, it's really nice considering the awesome viewing angles that we get to the phone and the screen that looks really good overall. And yet another important thing about today's smartphones cameras. So this phone has a 13 megapixel camera onto the back, and it's supposedly a new sensor from the UMI Max. And yes, I did see some improvements over the UMI Max. The camera app looks very nice. It looks a lot like the camera app that you would find on an iPhone. I mean, we do have a lot of options there. We even have like a pro photo option. However, it's not really that pro. You can just change a few things, but it's a good addition to have. We also have a couple of modes there, so you can change whatever, basically filters, so you take cooler looking pictures. The HDR mode takes quite some time to actually take a picture. So if you have the HDR mode on, you're gonna have to keep your hands very steady. And if you get like a car moving through, yeah, you're gonna get like half a car in the picture. And you're probably gonna see one of those pictures that I'm showing you as samples where you can only see half a car, or I don't know, 3/4 of a car. Overall, pictures taken with the HDR mode on, where you don't actually move, they do turn out rather good, but other than that, the pictures aren't that amazing. The colors aren't as vibrant, so they're a bit washed out, and the details don't seem to be that amazing. But yes, it is an improvement versus the UMI Max. Nighttime pictures, they do look better than most of these cheaper Chinese phones, but again, they're not the absolute best, and you have to keep your hand really steady. If you move your hand at all, yeah, the pictures turn up all blurry. But overall, it's okay. I think it's an improvement over past devices that we've seen. The rear camera can also record at 1080p, and I'm gonna show you a very short clip that I filmed with the camera on the back. So it does look fairly good. It changes the light there by itself, so it does look really good depending where you're filming. So check out that sample video from the UMI Plus. And it's time to conclude this video. So the UMI Plus looks amazing. I mean, it is one of the nicest Chinese devices that I've seen. When you hold it in your hand, it doesn't feel like a $200 phone. It feels like a $600 phone. The edges are nicely curved, and the phone overall looks amazingly good. So I'm very happy to see the quality that they put into the materials to actually build the phone. Now the downside to the phone is the GPS unit inside. The GPS doesn't work the absolute best, and the connectivity. So hopefully these two issues can be fixed with a software update, but as the time of this video, yeah, those two things don't work the absolute best. The battery inside the phone lasts forever, better than my Note 7, better than a lot of phones. So yeah, I'm very happy to see that the battery life is excellent. Other than that, the camera, it's an improvement over other Chinese devices. It still needs some more work. I mean, I wish it would take pictures faster. I wish the colors would be closer to reality, so not as washed out. But overall, it's an improvement over other cheaper Chinese devices. Alright guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you did like the video, press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.